You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
And as always, thank you, Mr. Anthony Haney, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk podcast. I wanted to clear something up. I misspoke. This is episode 411. The previous episode that should have already went up by now, that's episode 410 of the podcast. So I do apologize. That's an error on my end, and my producers will fix that as it should be fixed and corrected as it will be uploaded. Episode 412 will be the WNBA 2025 mock draft 1.0. In this episode, we're talking about Maryland men's basketball. That's already an introduction, so I just want to clear that up. We're talking about the season preview for this team and our win against Manhattan. So it's going to be a good episode, and I'm looking forward to this. We do play Mount St. Mary's tomorrow. So let's just really get into it with Maryland. So obviously we know last year was disappointing. And I know Jameer Young's no longer here. I think the biggest thing was finding those answers to those pieces to the puzzle in the transfer portal. If you ever last year, everything ran through Jameer, and the depth with Noah and Jonathan, Noah Batchelor and Jonathan Lamuth, both leaving for the portal. Jahir Long is really the only guard left that played meaningful minutes. But Kevin Willard went out there and did his thing. I like the pick of Jacoby Gillespie from Belmont, Seton Miguel from South Florida, Rodney Rice, Virginia. And then also, too, like the one that we really haven't talked about, Jay Young from Memphis and Tafira Garpar from Georgia Tech. I think that those guys will be great. I think one thing when you look at all those players, I think especially starting with Jacoby last year averaged 17 points a game for Belmont. He actually led the MVSC, the Missouri Valley Conference, and shooting percentage, and he can shoot the three. I think he was one of two guards under 6 foot to shoot 72% from the room, if I remember saying that stat correctly. I think he's also a good two-way player, so he definitely brings depth with that. Selton Miguel, I think will be pretty good. I'm curious to see how we'll put him in the starting lineup. He's coming from the ACC. Sixth man of the year last year, averaged 14 points. Remember that correctly. Definitely improved from the year before. I think his 3-point percentage was somewhere along the lines of 39. And then last year, 32, the year before, 39 to this year. So definitely, again, like that pickup. My only question is when I looked at some of the stats, I think he's going to be more of a bench player, coming in more of that 6-man role because he only started 5 games out of 33 last year. So I'm curious to see how we'll use him. The biggest one I think this is going to be probably the underrated one, but I think he'll pan out. I think he'll do well for us. Is Rodney Rice, 6'4" out of Virginia. He only missed 8 games last year due to injury. 2022, 2023, only played 8 games and then missed pretty much all last year as well due to injury. So he's shown flashes. He, especially in the second round of the ACC tournament, he showed what he can do. I think he'll be slowly put in that rotation as time's progressed. I like Jay Young. I think he's definitely somebody I think that's going to fit well in Kevin's system. He's played for Memphis, UCF, Grambling State. I think the Central Florida was probably his best year, but I think he's going to definitely bring a lot as a guard. Mr. Garpar, he's a New Zealand native. Did a little search on him. I went to UMass, Georgia Tech. Started 15 games last year for those Yellow Jackets. So I'm curious how we use him in the front court. But the biggest thing was we needed shooters. And I'm really glad that we did that. Because outside of what we have, it was definitely going to look a little different. With Derik Queen coming in here, I think he's going to be great. I'm really more, if anything, happy that Julian's staying. Juju. I was really concerned that he was going to leave because there was a lot of rumors that he was going to consider hitting the transfer portal. But, he's been one of the best post players in the Big Ten. Last few years have proved it. He started all 32 games last year. You've seen his numbers, averaged 13 and 9. Got an all Big Ten honorable mention, almost averaged 2 blocks a game because it was really Jameer and Julian. So you're looking for him this year to be kind of the focal point of that offense. I don't think there'll be any issue with him and Derik Queen. Derik Queen is 6'10". But if you look at since Juju's been here, he has not played with anybody that's taller than him. So only thing when I saw, and I'll mention this again when we talk about the Manhattan game, their transition defense definitely needs some work. And I think that's going to be something I think that'll get better as the season progresses. I think Derik can stretch the floor and Julian can definitely finish around the rim. So opposing defenses will have to cancel one of those guys out. So it's going to be interesting how that looks. Deshaun Harris-Smith's coming back. He was exceeded expectations well. The only thing is his shooting. He's not the best last year. And I think he will definitely turn it around. So I'm hoping out for big things for him. He did start all 30. He started 30 over 33 games last year. Stats may say otherwise, but I think he'll have a bounce back year. Geronimo started 26 games last year, and I do see Jordan's role kind of decreasing now that Jacoby, Selton, and Rodney are here. But I think once Rodney comes back, I think that's kind of curious to what we'll look. But again, defensively, on the defensive end, he did great. I think when you ask him to guard one of the opponent's best player, he will step up. I think he's more of a 3-4. He could play small forward, power forward. So I'm curious to see how we'll use him. Outside of that, outside of Jahir, he suffered an injury. So more likely he will not be playing. Chance Stevens, Brandon Pierce, Lucas Sortel, and Ben Murphy. They're they're all coming back, but they didn't really get any more minutes. So it's going to be interesting, especially in that backcourt where Chance, where he's going to get some playing time, but he can shoot the three. So Kevin really went out there and really, really made some splashes. I think this team can really, honestly, truthfully make a Sweet 16 Elite 8 run. One thing it just depends on is the size and the shooting and how we use and utilize that. Defensively, I think we'll be fine. Again, but now Dante Scott and Jameer not there. You've got guys that are capable of stepping up, and I think those guys will be just fine. I really, really am optimistic for this team. I think this team's going to do some great things. But hey, credit Kevin Willard, biggest, and then his track record shows, especially when he was at Seton Hall. His team's year progresses, they progressively get better. And his tenor showed at Seton Hall. So I predict that's my peak for them. Sweet 16, Elite 8 run. That's just a prediction, but I can see this team definitely making a run. And I think the Big Ten tournament, and in the Big Ten as well, I predict them to finish around 4th, 3rd right now. So, but hey, we still got a lot of basketball to play. It's just one game. But looking at this roster, it's going to take some time for these guys to gel. Biggest thing, like I saw, it's one game. There's a lot of things we got to hammer out, but we'll talk about that in just a bit. Right, so let's talk about it. The University of Maryland men's basketball team started their season at home against the University of Manhattan Jaspers. They finished, I did a little background research on them, they finished 7-23. They're in the MAAC conference. They really last year really showed. They scored the 4th fewest points in the Atlantic Athletic Conference and got the most points. That's interesting. Painfully, the last time we saw these guys was back in 2006, and we lost.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. Mm-mm. What do you want me to say to that?
I mean, damn!
I kind of remember that game because the final score, I think, was like 87 something. And it was an NIT game too. And I can remember my dad throwing something at the TV. That's how I know that game. That's how I remember the Jaspers. So that's the last time we saw them. So, I mean, really, if you look at them so far, the one they are a smaller team than they were last year. They led the MAAC with 14 assists. So, but they're not the best rebounding team at all. And one thing you definitely saw in this game was the size difference. So, the one thing that I still am going to find out, and this game did show that a little bit, the identity. I know Will Kramer, shout out to Will Kramer, teases me about that, but identity is what's important that makes your team successful. And we did not disappoint at all. As the Maryland University, the men defeated the Jaspers 79-49. The second half was pretty much the nail in the coffin because they scored or outscored the Jaspers by 27 points in the second half. I think from the jump, there were absolutely no answers that Manhattan had for them. And when you look at everything that they did, it starts with Derik Queen. Derik Queen is definitely going to be a special player for this program. The size, and I think he just makes everybody's role easy. He recorded a double-double in the first half. I mean, against a smaller team. I mean, he looked comfortable. There was no nerves, nothing. 22 points, 20 rebounds, had a couple steals, couple blocks. He's the first Maryland player to record a 20 and 20 game, and the first player since the great Michael Beasley back in 2007 when he played for those Jayhawks. Shout out to Michael Beasley. Kansas State, excuse me. Shout out to Michael Beasley. Michael Beasley, I remember correctly, won Freshman of the Year, and then he was Big 12 Player of the Year. So shout out to Michael Beasley on that. I misspoke, Kansas State. But I really thought the second half was really key for me because the shooting did not disappoint. Now, well, let me say it like this: it will get better, just like I talked about in the women's episode. We shot 3 of 12 from 3 in the second half, and you and I see games like that. There's going to be games where you're going to see something like that. But against the first game of the season, I definitely think, especially they shot 50% in those second half. I mean, Jacoby was 3 of 3. Rodney Rice, I think, was 4 of 6. Remember seeing the stats correctly. 2 3-pointers. Derik was 5 of 8. And what was funny about this game, Manhattan was down 3 points at halftime. So I'm sitting there like, what's happened? I mean, they were they didn't really do that great in the first half. They shot 70% from the free throw line. They were 2-11 from 3, and they were 11 of 30 from the field, if I'm seeing those stats correctly. So I'm sitting here like, well, what's going on? But the second half, I think, really was the story. Outside of that, I mean, the transfers looked good. I said Jacoby and Selton were in the starting lineup, so he did really good. So Jacoby's going to be more likely our point guard because he did a good time with as a finisher. Couple layups, he had 5 assists. I thought he did great in the press because a couple times Coach Willard threw the press out there. So I like that. We started the first 15 minutes for Miguel was a little rough out there, but he'll get better. He did. I know you'll see. I'm gonna have some tape of the post game. He mentioned that he suffered an ankle injury, but that was before the game. So Rodney Rice had 12 points. He was the only Maryland that was consistent from 3-point shooting. But everybody else out there got some touches, and it looked good for the first game of the season. I'm really excited to see where this goes. I really am. But I'm going to play you some tape of the post presser for the men's basketball team.
Derik, it's kind of what you envisioned your debut was going to be like, 22 and 20.
No, not really. I mean, I just had to go out there, rebound, play how I usually play, and cows. But yeah,
Any nerves at the beginning that you kind of shake off, or how did you kind of feel going into right after tip?
nah, no nerves. Just come out there and play basketball. That's what I love to do. There's no need to be nervous. I've been playing basketball forever, so why be nervous now?
Jacoby and Rodney, when you're watching kind of Derek's performance there, like, what are you thinking? Is it going through your head? Are you kind of like realizing how good he's playing, or is it just like, oh, this is what he's been doing in practice? Like, take me through kind of what you're thinking in the moment.
Yeah, I expected that from Derek. He came in as a 5-star, and I heard a lot about him, so I really expected that.
He does that in practice. So yeah, it was very expected. He was horsing down there, and yeah, that's what I like to see from him.
And when the game got going there in the second half, what did Coach Willard talk to you about at halftime? What did you kind of, you guys came out with a relentless attempt, it seemed like, in transition, especially Jacoby. Was there an intent to push the ball, or did that just kind of come with the game flow?
Yeah, just turn it up on offense more, like pigs, and yeah, really, that's it.
Yeah, coach just told us to come out with and be more aggressive. Mainly on offense, we needed to do better on that side of the ball. Our defense was well. And yeah, just being aggressive, the main thing coming out into the second half.
Derik, I think early on after you had a few quick baskets, they started trying to deny you the ball there a little bit. Did that change your approach at all, or not really?
No. I just had to just go get some rebounds. I had a lot of points off offensive rebounds, and then at the top of the key, when the ball got to me, it wasn't denying. So like I was playing like LaMarvelous Jackson, but yeah.
And then Rodney, Coach Willard mentioned that over the last 2 weeks, you've been maybe the most consistent and best player in practice. What's that been like for you, obviously coming out of not playing for a while?
Yeah, it definitely took me a few practices. But yeah, I got my feet wet and just playing like myself now. I feel more confident, and the coaches, the guys on the team, they've instilled that confidence into me. So yeah, just playing like myself, playing free.
Derik, I don't know if you heard, but at a certain point, the students started chanting your name. Might have been at some point in the second half. I don't know. Did you hear that, or how did it feel?
Yeah, I heard it. It was sitting right in front of me when I was on the bench, and it just put a big smile on my face.
And Jacoby, how comfortable did you feel first game running the offense? Were there any nerves before going in, and how did it feel, once you're out there?
I knew I just had to go out there and play basketball, and I got two bigs like Derik and Jew, and then Rodney and all the other ones spacing the floor. So I knew the game would come to me.
Oh man, it felt great. That first half was a little rough, in my opinion, but I had to, like I said, get my feet wet, come out next half, and get to it. Chickens.
All right, next is Coach Kevin Willard.
Kevin, I know expectations were high, but I think what Derik did tonight probably defied a lot of them, even for folks here in this building. Was it defying to you in that way?
No, I got a job 3 years ago, and the first place I went down to was Mount Verde to watch him. And I've got to watch him over the last 3 years progress. I've got to see him lose almost 18 pounds since he got here. And I think I said it on media day, he's one of the best freshmen, if not the best freshman in the country. I know a lot of people talk about other guys, but what he did tonight is what he does every day in practice. So it's not really that surprising.
What changed from the first half to the second half? That seemed to be the
Just
glaring thing.
nerves. I mean, again, this is the first, like, we got 8 new guys. So I kind of knew, and Manhattan's a very well-coached team defensively. They run stuff. They're deliberate. I really wasn't that worried. I just wanted everyone to kind of get their game nerves out of them. It's the bad thing about playing scrimmages. The good thing is you play good teams. The bad thing is you don't get that game experience. And so it was just a little bit more or less just everybody kind of relax and we'll be okay. And it was.
Hey, Coach. There was that stretch there in the second quarter where I think they were down 6 and Derik scored 8 straight points. Was that a purposeful decision by you to kind of get him going there in the second half, or did he just kind of take it over?
No, I mean, I think that's something that we wanted to get the ball inside. We knew the size. We had a really big size advantage. We didn't do a good job of getting the ball inside in the first half. Again, it's when you have really talented players, certain guys can take over games. I think Derik just kind of, we got a good steal. He got a big duck in. He's a talented player. Sometimes you just got to get out of his way. Yeah, I mean, Jacoby is a great shooter too. So like this, what I'm excited is 5 assists, no turnovers for his first time out. Having to run the show, taking over technically for Jameer to get 16 and 5, play defense the way he played. I was really happy with Jacoby.
Kevin, how did you feel about the chemistry with the roster that's kind of been remade this season?
What I like the most about the roster, Gene, is last year we would have been stuck with that same 5 out there, and I would have looked down. There would have been a whole lot of options. This year we were struggling, and I had no problem going in with Jay, Rodney, Tafar, Jordan. It wasn't even a thought process for me because that second group gives that first group every day in practice. So last year I think we would have struggled, and we did last year's first game. We struggled because we didn't have that many options. It was nice to sit there and be able to put Rodney Rice in to start the second half and know what he can do. So the chemistry is a long way. I think everyone's going to say the same thing. We're not the only one, but I do like the fact that I had a lot of confidence in going to the bench and playing Jay, playing Rodney, Tafar, Jordan, extended minutes.
10 players going in the first half, is that something you plan to see regularly during the season, or was it just
No, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Kevin, what did you see in the minutes with Derik and Juju out there together? How did they kind of play?
Yeah, I know all the fans love and want them to play together, and I get it. My biggest issue with playing them together is I got to take them both out, and I think we struggled. We went through a tough stretch when they were both out of the game. I think when they're both out of the game, I'm giving the other team a gift. I got to figure out, and it's really, really hard to try to play a center 8 straight minutes at this level. And so one of them has to play almost 8 straight minutes, and then it's really hard to get them back in. And I know everyone thinks it's a lot easier to do. It's really not easy to do with 2 big guys that have to run the floor, set screens, stay out of foul trouble. Then if they do get in foul trouble, now you're stuck with one of them there. They work really well together. I just don't like giving the other team a free pass, not having them one of them on the floor, because I don't care who you are. If you got to guard Julian Reese and Derek Queen all game long and you never get a break, you're going to be in for a long night.
And no Selden in the second half. Was that just an injury-related thing?
Yeah, Selden sprained his ankle 2 days ago. Missed most of yesterday's practice. I wanted to get him out there and just get the feel of the first game and go through everything. But he looked like he was just kind of not himself, and so that was just kind of what I didn't want him to mess that ankle up any further.
And then I think you mentioned it too, and talking with Rodney at Media Day, he said it might take him a little bit of time just to get settled, having not played in so long. But what did you see from him today? He seemed, especially in that second half, really comfortable.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing I've seen is over the last 2 weeks, Rodney's been our most consistent and probably best player in practice. And so I think he's gained a lot of confidence in practice. So through his confidence, I have great confidence in him. And I think, you're just going to see he plays, he keeps the game really simple. He's going to shoot it, or he's going to, create offense off the dribble. So for him to come out after being out that long and playing the way he did, again, that's the way I'm looking at things. Those are all really good positives.
And I know you probably didn't shoot the ball quite as well as you'd like from three, but what did you think about the looks that you guys were creating?
Well, we were only 5 for 18 at one point. We'd only taken 18, which I was actually kind of happy about. I look at the last 5 misses. Chance missed 2. Deshaun missed 1. Derik jacked 1 up. But this team will shoot the basketball much, much better. That's actually the one thing. Last year, you can ask Damon. I walked off the court and I was visibly nervous about the way we shot the ball. This year, I know we got guys that can make shots, so I'm not that worried about that.
Kevin, the role that Jordan was able to play tonight, there was a stretch there in the second half where I feel like he had like a couple steals and a block, or a couple blocks and a steal. Is that what you envision what he's going to be able to give you this season? Yeah, I mean, I think I threw Jordan into the fire last year. Chance's injury kind of forced that a little bit. So I had to throw him into going from a guy that was not so much a role player, but knew his role, to going out and playing 30 minutes a game and trying to figure it out. Jordan, I think, knows who he is now, and I think that makes a huge difference as a player. Kind of when you figure out who you are and what you can do and how you can be effective on the court, I think Jordan's figured that out, where I don't think he had figured it out last year. And a similar type of thing with Deshaun. Did you feel like he kind of picked his spots a little bit better tonight, and maybe the game kind of came to him a little bit better? Yeah, I'd like to see Deshaun be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, he's putting the work in, shooting and offensive-wise. I'd like to see him be a little bit more. I think that was a little bit of our issue in the first half, is he can't be as passive. He's been really good going downhill and getting in pick and rolls. But again, even though he played 32 games last year and played all those minutes, your first time being back under the lights it takes a little time. But yes, I think I agreed with you.
I actually disagree with Kevin in terms of playing both of them out there. I think you can find ways to have them both out there. I do agree, if one gets in foul trouble, that does hurt. Now, I don't know if that's because of, from a defensive standpoint, especially getting back on transition defense, that kind of makes him nervous. But again, okay. You know what? I'm going to see this Mount St. Mary's game Friday, and let me go back and look at the tape on this one again. I kind of get where he's coming from, but I don't think you have to put him out there 8 straight minutes. I think even if you just had him maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, I think you would see a difference. But I can understand his logic. I get his reasoning. So I think he's still trying to figure the things out, how the rotations will look and all those different things. They'll be fine. But overall, it was good. It was a good start for the team. They play Mount St. Mary's on Friday as their another non-conference opponent. We've also seen a couple recruits for next year. I have it written down here. Christian Jeffrey, 4-star from Mount Zion, is committed to us next year. And then he's also joining Marcus Jackson, center from Arizona. We're definitely buffing up definitely getting some big men out there. So we're looking good for 2025, but right now we're focusing on this season. And this is a good start. Go Terps. They'll be ready Friday. Again, the shooting, I'm in the same boat as Kevin. I'm not worried. It's the first game of the season. It's jitters. They'll be fine. But that's going to do it for this episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content. I have no final word other than stay safe, check on loved ones, and take care of your mental health. And take it one day at a time. Everything will be all right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content for the podcast. We out of here. Peace. Stay up.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.